And Good Friday has a special significance in Birmingham. We'll hear about the anniversary, the historical anniversary today that led to lasting change in the civil rights movement. Part of Birmingham's rich culture now is its history, and Easter weekend is particularly significant in that history. So next on Talk of Alabama, we take you back 60 years ago to the event that sparked a major change in the civil rights movement. Welcome back to Talk of Alabama. Today is not only Good Friday, it's the 60th anniversary of a momentous event in civil rights history. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was arrested and placed in a Birmingham City jail cell. From that came a powerful call to action, the letter from Birmingham jail. This morning, we are diving into that history. Historian Raffi Andonian joins us now. Raffi, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me on such a important date, important time with the anniversary, as you mentioned, of the Birmingham campaign, the 60th anniversary.
The 60th anniversary of this whole campaign, which was intentionally started during the Easter season. Why was that?
Because as MLK said, that the Easter season was the second most important or largest shopping season of the holidays, of course, behind Christmas. Now remember, there's a local movement here as well. Fred Shuttlesworth is here, and Shuttlesworth connects with MLK to bring attention here. Now, Shuttlesworth is a Birmingham leader of civil rights, locally leading a civil rights group in Birmingham and Alabama. But when he brings MLK here, it's decided to, help bring national attention to Birmingham so that they can affect more change and affect more, impact. And that's how MLK gets involved, and they together choose this season to be able to boycott and do the broader sit-ins and demonstrations, because they thought that that pressure, that economic pressure on those businesses would be part of what causes folks to come around a negotiating table to then get changes against segregation.
Certainly, and we talked a little bit about this before, just the importance of the Birmingham area in the movement, but once again, why was Birmingham chosen as the spot?
A couple of reasons. One is that, of course, MLK is going throughout different parts of the South to connect and bring attention. But Birmingham in particular was seen, as MLK identified, as the most segregated city in the South. And so that strength of the resistance here in Birmingham is part of what drew that kind of campaign and attention here. Now remember, Birmingham becomes known as Bombingham, and Alabama is one of the places that has continuous confrontations during this desegregation period, and that's why this area is chosen, of course, in collaboration with the local movement.
Certainly, that it was chosen as an example almost that we can do this here. Certainly, we have all this attention that we're going to bring to these issues here in Birmingham, but then across the South, of course.
And the famous Sheriff Bull Connor, right, who's known for not exactly using, peaceful tactics for his police force. That is, of course, a lot of what gets TV attention. TV attention is important when you're having that kind of conflict so that you can actually, bring about change, bring about the social pressure. And that's how MLK then, in this process, of course, is jailed. And there is a story where he says, well, you can bail me out, but I don't want to be bailed out, to further bring attention to the fact that he was in jail and what was taking place to these protests, even in a nonviolent approach. So there's a strategy behind him staying in jail once he's there and refusing to use bail funds, which were becoming limited because so many people were being jailed during the Birmingham campaign that he decided to stay in jail for a period of time to get the attention, save some money, and then eventually the opportunity for this letter comes about.
And what did the letter do for the movement?
Well, let me contextualize it to show what it does. What happens is that he's cut off, he's in isolation, he's cut off from his wife, he's cut off from having access to attorneys. JFK, the president at the time, has to get involved, but someone actually smuggles in a letter that is written, a piece that is written on the newspaper, an open letter, by local Christian and Jewish leaders against Martin Luther King, saying that he's an outside agitator and this stuff has no place here. Well, he's responding to that. So what he's trying to have as an impact, it has a specific audience, and it is to Christian and Jewish leaders. That's what he's trying to show, and he's trying to show them that, hey, I'm over here, and I think I'm living the example of faith, the example of Jesus Christ in a way that you all maybe are not recognizing. Now, he's not demonizing them. He actually makes comments in the letter about their sincerity and their goodwill. So he says, I have no doubt that you're sincere and you have goodwill, but here is how I see it. It's 7,000 words. The letter is pretty long. He writes it in the margins of that newspaper and other scraps of paper, as there's not material available to him. And the impact is it becomes this sort of manifesto, if you will, that we still refer to this day. You ever heard of the phrase, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere? That comes out of that letter. And what he's trying to show is that a problem that is that is an indirect problem to one person is, or excuse me, a direct problem to one person is an indirect problem to everyone. And so what he's trying to show exactly with that phrasing is that, you know, it's not just that I'm from the outside and I'm trying to mess around with Birmingham, but what's happening in Birmingham affects me in Atlanta, which is where he's at, affects the broader South, affects the broader United States, and he references people like Thomas Jefferson, and he says that Jefferson wrote the majestic words of the Declaration of Independence. That's his terminology, the majestic words, that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. So this is the stuff that he's referring to, and of course theological references to St. Augustine, St. Aquinas, and even to Jesus Christ himself.
Certainly, and it's a letter that, again, yeah, we still reference and had so much impact then, but also still has meaning and impact now. And, you know, if we rewind back 60 years ago, that letter would have been written in just a few days, right here in Birmingham. So
that's right here in Birmingham during the time that he's in jail, because of the Easter campaigns that we're talking about. Now, I'll add one more piece of this, is that there's a lot of tension between these different groups. For example, Fred Shuttlesworth is not happy that MLK eventually, once he gets out of jail, brings about negotiations just yet. Fred Shuttlesworth wanted to keep the pressure on, and MLK was ready to negotiate. So there's always these tensions that happen within, let's say, the faith community, within the civil rights movement. There's all these different pieces, and I think when people remember back, we have to remember that it's not one voice, it's not one black and white, it's not one civil rights movement, but all these different groups that are trying to figure this out together in the process of desegregating.
So interesting to hear about and to think about what was happening 60 years ago today and throughout this movement. Raffi, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me on. It's wonderful.
Of course.